Imagine soaring through the air, your leap 3 times higher than on Earth, with the ball gliding slowly in a perfect arc toward a hoop that feels almost too close. Time stretches, your senses sharpen, and in that surreal Martian silence, you dunk with ease that defies everything you know about physics. Welcome to basketball on Mars. But here is the real question. Would your skills make you a superstar, or would Martian gravity expose your every weakness? Today on No Way, we take you on an 8,000-word journey that redefines what it means to play the game above the rim literally. Stick around because by the end, you might find yourself imagining what your jump shot would look like. 140 million miles away from Earth. Let's start with the basics. Mars is roughly half the size of Earth, and it has only about 38% of Earth's gravity. That means if you weigh 180 pounds on Earth, you'd weigh just 68 pounds on Mars. This difference in gravity changes everything. From walking to running to simply tossing a ball, your muscles exert the same force, but the outcomes are radically different. On Earth, gravity constantly pulls down with a force that defines how we move, how we jump, how we fall. On Mars, that invisible hand is far weaker. So what happens when you take a sport as gravity-dependent as basketball and transplant it to the red planet? Let's find out. One of the first things to consider is the basketball shot itself. Here on Earth, the average NBA player releases the ball at about 45 degrees for a three-pointer, with a flight time of roughly 0.75 seconds. On Mars, because of the weaker gravity, the same shot would stay in the air much longer, closer to 2 seconds, and travel a significantly higher arc. This isn't just theory. The physics of projectile motion tells us that, for the same force applied, lower gravity leads to longer hang times and larger vertical displacement. Your classic jump shot, it's going to look like it's happening in slow motion. But this dreamy arc comes with a twist. Accuracy becomes much harder. You'll need to develop new muscle memory, recalibrate your timing, and rethink how you judge distance. Imagine practicing on Earth for years, only to find that your perfect form sends the ball sailing over the backboard on Mars. Players would likely develop new shooting mechanics. Perhaps higher release points, more wrist flick. A new arc angle optimized not for gravity, but for atmospheric drag, which, by the way, is much thinner on Mars. And here is something even more intriguing. The three-point line might have to be moved back or forward depending on how scoring evolves in this low-gravity environment. Would you be the Steph Curry of Mars ... or just another Earthbound misfire? Now let's talk about the bounce. On Earth, the standard basketball bounces back up to about 60 to 70% of the height it was dropped from. That bounce back is a function of gravity and elasticity. On Mars, when you push the ball down with the same force, it will return more slowly and travel higher than expected. This seemingly minor shift would throw off the rhythm of every dribble. Imagine trying to cross over your opponent, but the ball hangs in the air like it's underwater. Timing would be disrupted, speed would be sacrificed. Flashy dribbling styles might vanish entirely. Players would need to modify hand positioning, lower their stances, and possibly use lighter or differently pressurized balls to compensate. And this raises another issue: the surface of the court. Mars is covered in dust, fine, clingy, and electrostatically charged. Unless games are played in sealed domes with synthetic courts, dribbling outside would be nearly impossible. Could we see the rise of zero-dribble basketball? A sport that prioritizes passing, movement, and positioning over traditional ball handling? It's not just a possibility, it may be a necessity. Running, jumping, cutting, pivoting, all of these core components of basketball are transformed by the Martian environment. First, movement. With less gravity pulling you down, your strides will be longer. Your jumps will be higher, your falls ... slower. This might sound great, but there's a catch. Momentum becomes harder to stop. That explosive first step might carry you twice as far. That mid-air adjustment, now a floaty, uncertain drift. You could launch yourself for a layup and end up overshooting the hoop completely. Defense becomes a high-risk act. Players could easily lose their footing or sail past opponents while trying to block a shot. Even simple lateral movement would feel foreign. On Earth, friction and gravity help stabilize quick cuts. On Mars, you risk slipping or drifting uncontrollably. Footwear would need reinvention, courts would need traction-optimized surfaces, and players would need to train their muscles for both strength and restraint. One misstep and you're bouncing off the back wall of the arena. Let's talk about dunks. On Earth, a 40-inch vertical leap is elite. On Mars, with the same muscle output, you could jump over 100 inches. That's right, nearly 9 feet into the air. Dunks wouldn't just be common, they'd be expected. And not just one-handed rim grazers. We're talking about 720-degree slams, alley-oops from the free throw line, and dunks that redefine gravity-defying. In fact, the rim might need to be raised just to keep the game competitive. But there's more, the act of landing becomes critical. On Earth, gravity helps stabilize you as you come down. On Mars, you might float back to the ground awkwardly and unbalanced. Without proper body control and mid-air orientation, a dunk could end in a graceless sprawl. Would Martian dunks become elegant aerial ballets or dangerous experiments in acrobatics? Either way, they would be unforgettable. Let's fast forward. Imagine the year 2150, colonies are thriving. Entertainment is essential and basketball has gone interplanetary. Leagues form, teams represent domes and habitats. Specialized training facilities spring up with AI-driven gravity simulations. Mars native athletes emerge born and trained in 38% gravity, with reflexes and techniques unrecognizable to us Earthlings. The equipment evolves to lighter uniforms, aerodynamic sneakers, smart balls embedded with sensors to track trajectory, speed, and hang time. Courts are no longer wooden rectangles. They're dynamic with adjustable gravity zones, rebound walls, and vertical lanes. The game itself transforms. Maybe it splits into two formats, Earth Ball and Mars Ball. One grounded in our familiar physics, the other exploring the limitless creativity offered by low gravity. Could the two ever merge interplanetary all-star games? Maybe, but one thing is certain, basketball on Mars wouldn't just be a sport. It would be a spectacle, a fusion of art, science, and space. At first glance, it might seem silly to ask how gravity affects a basketball game. But look deeper and you find a story of adaptation, imagination, and the human desire to bring joy to even the most alien places. Basketball isn't just a game of points and plays. It's a dialogue between body and environment. Change the gravity and you change the language. So next time you take a shot, imagine doing it under the Martian sky. The rules change, the physics shift. But the love of the game, that's universal. If this journey sparked your imagination, hit that subscribe button and join the No Way channel for more mind-bending explorations at the edge of science, sport, and space. Because on this channel, gravity is optional but curiosity is mandatory.